morning, everybody. Welcome, Alchemy Online community. Those of you that are watching at home live, hi. Jody here, if we haven't met before. And today, I just want to have a little bit of a chat, a little bit of a check-in. I've been finding for myself anyways that the live connection, the Zoom calls, the FaceTime chats with family and friends have been as meaningful as really anything I've been doing as of lately. So I just wanted to have a little chat with you guys about a couple different things. I was reading something, I think it was last week or the week before, about how we are all in this huge time of grief and that we're grieving the loss of so many things. And when we think about it, I don't even know if we can take our brains all the way through to the end of this pandemic to think of the things that we've lost or the things that just won't be the same because of this time. So I was searching up this morning on my phone the grief cycle, the cycles of grief that we go through. And I've learned this from Suzanne Easton, one of my friends, and she taught a grief course last, my gosh, when was that? I think it was last fall, and there was a few of us from this community that were in that course, and she taught us that there's different layers and different levels of grief. And it doesn't have to be death. Often we think that we just save that emotion for when we've experienced death. But right now, honestly, we're in this global time of grief. So I just want to quickly go through the the cycles of grief. And I'm reading off of the Kubler-Ross grief cycle. It's just one I randomly pulled up. So the first one is denial, right? That feels familiar. Words underneath denial are avoidance, confusion, shock, and fear. I think those are words that have been going around, and I've certainly experienced those. And then the next stage of grief is anger. And some words underneath the anger block here are frustration, irritation, and anxiety. Relatable. And then this graph that I'm looking at goes down here. It takes quite a deep nosedive, and it goes into depression. And underneath depression, it says overwhelm, helplessness, hostility, and fighting. Relatable. And then after depression, it starts to go up a little bit, and it goes into bargaining, struggling to find meaning, reaching out to others, telling one's story. And what I know from my course with Suzanne is that this is a slippery ride. So we might slide back and go back up into anger, go back into depression. We might even bypass some things and I actually feel like I've kind of gone over to bargaining. And then this last week, I do feel like I've gone back over to irritation for sure, frustration, absolutely. So I don't know that we stay in these levels. And it's like, oh, we conquered that level and then we're on to the next. I think it's a sliding, slippery experience. And then the last and final one is acceptance. I was talking to Megan Bornholt yesterday, and she was using the word tolerance. And both of those work, I think. Exploring options, new plans in place, and moving on. So yeah, you guys can probably search up and find anything like that. Maybe you already have. The one word that I'm going to extract out of all of this today is kind of one from my own personal life right now is anxiety. And I think anxiety can look different for all of us. It doesn't always look like, something visible that we can see with the eyes. It can look like distraction. It can look like withdrawing, isolating yourself, and just not really knowing where you fit and where you need to be at any given time. So I'm going to read something from one of my very favorite books. And we are going to do yoga today. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. I have a little theory that the things that we learn in a yoga class, the heart remembers and the head remembers, but the body forgets. So the part that we're going to do on the mat in a little bit, we're probably going to forget that as soon as it's over. The parts that will stay with us will be the heart pieces and the head pieces. So I just want to take up a little bit of time this morning to read from one of my very favorite books. I don't know if you can see that. This is the book that I have in the past bought in bulk, and then I just randomly give it to people when I think they could use it or to thank people for different things. And it's called The Book of Qualities by J. Ruth Gendler. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. the book of qualities. And so essentially what she's done in this book is she's taken a whole bunch of different emotions or qualities, and she's written about them she's personified them. She's made them like they're people. So I'm going to read to you guys from the book of qualities, anxiety. It's really short. So get comfy, get grounded, settle into yourself, your seat, lengthen your spine a bit, take a deep breath in, and just take a nice heavy breath out. Anxiety is secretive. He does not trust anyone, not even his friends. Worry, terror, doubt, and panic. He has a way of glomming onto your skin, like smog, and then you feel unclean. He likes to visit me late at night when I'm alone and exhausted. He one time kissed me on the forehead, and I had a headache for 2 years. He is a nuisance to get out of the house. He has no respect for locks or curtains or doors. I speak from experience. It takes a lot to get rid of anxiety. A combination of anger, humor, and self-respect. A bath helps too. He does not like to get wet. As a last resort, if you are not near a bathtub, wet your face with tears. All right, we're going to meet up on the mat, and we're going to meet up on our backs. So I'll meet you guys there. And if you do have something like blocks, great. If you don't, that's all right too. So lay on your back, bend your knees, feet flat, and just take your hands to rest comfortably on the center, the belly. Just take a few breaths here. And so I used the word anxiety this morning. You might have a different one, a different emotion that's making its way around your physical body this morning. If you need to witness that and name that, you can. Okay, go ahead and remove your hands from your belly and pick your feet up like you're stepping on the ceiling. Bend your knees. And then take your hands out to the sides. If you have a glass of coffee or tea there, move that out of the way. So palms down. We're going to use our arms and our shoulders as little stabilizers here. Now squeeze your knees and your feet together. And now take your knees and your leg bones just a little bit away from the chest. So they're not in like this anymore. They're more like you're trying to step on the wall across from you. And then using your arms, you're going to use your arms quite a bit here as well as the core. This is called stomach revolving pose. Hover your knees together to the right. So the knees, the feet don't come apart. And then come back up to center where you started. And we're going to do this towards the left, same pose. And do a few more sides of this, a few more times, dropping knees together to the right. Waking up the fire in the belly. Drop the knees together to the left. Try to keep your leg bones away from the chest. Do 2 more each side, just finding nice, easy breath. Typically, it's the exhale breath that takes us down, and the inhale breath brings us back up. But if you have a different breath pattern, go ahead and do that. And then once you've done 2 more on each side, we're going to meet back up at center. Drop the feet, return your hands to the center of the belly. A couple easy breaths here. Good, same thing here. Bend your knees, pick up your feet. Squeeze your knees, squeeze your feet together, and slightly take your leg bones away from the chest. And then this time, I want you to pick up your head. Pick up the shoulder blades off the mat too if you can. And then take your hands together, press your hands together. And then turn yourself to the right. Keep your feet at center and then turn yourself to the left. So same thing here. It's like you're doing chair pose from reclined here, using the core, revolving side to side. Do 2 more each side. Again, you'll use your shoulder blades here to help stabilize, but core is doing the work. Good, and then come back to center, drop your feet, and one last time, hands to the belly center. All right. And then we'll roll ourselves up, and we'll come into a downward facing dog. So feet back, hands down, and just find a nice, comfortable downward facing dog. Move your, you can pedal your heels down towards the floor. Let your head hang heavy. Decompress any of that tension, any of that anxiety that's in the head, neck, and shoulders by letting your head go all the way. Like you're trying to hide your armpits. Rotate the arm bones in. Pressurize your hands. Keep moving the legs. Decompress the hips. Even relax your face. Downward facing dog helps with relaxing the face. Everything kind of falls upward. Look forward. Walk your feet to where your hands are. And then stand in the standing forward fold pose. Soft knees, a really heavy head. You can take any arm expression that you like here this morning. You can weave your fingers together behind your head. Or you can just let your arms hang freely. Keep the knees soft though, so that the spine is long, decompressing the vertebrae. Good. Now go ahead and take your big toes together to touch a little slight gap between your heels. And then squeeze your knees together, sink the hips a little lower. And we're coming up with the upper body and the chest for chair pose, Utkatasana pose. So just take a little peek down that you can still see your toes. And then relax the shoulders, but charge the arms. And then broaden through the chest. Even have space in your throat. Try not to have any condensed chest here with your throat, your chin drawing in towards the chest. Lift the chin away from the chest a little. Good. And then keep the legs, but bring your hands down to the center of the chest. And we're going to repeat that same pose that we did from reclined on the back, but now we're on the feet, but it's the same action. We're going to hover the left elbow just above the right knee. So we're not going to touch it down because we're going to move side to side. Come back through center. Hover your right elbow just over the left knee. And then just start to find your rhythm here. Start to find the pacing. Inhale to center. Exhale to twist. Keep the breath nice, long, and smooth. And even keep some firm pressure between your fingertips, the hands. Hasta Bandha. Pada Bandha in the feet. Do one more each side. We'll end on the left. And then go ahead and straighten the legs. Soften the knees again. Relax the head. Pedal out the heels if you need to. And we'll do a half sun salutation here on the inhale breath. Glide your hands at the front of your shins. Broaden through the chest. And on the exhale, just refold. Inhale, come all the way up. Reach up, stretch long through the side body, through the waist. And then exhale, hands to the center of the chest. On your next inhale breath, reach your arms all the way up towards the sky. And as you exhale, go ahead and clasp your hands behind your back. So whatever you can get a hold of back here, this looks really different for everybody, depending on two things, the length of your arms and also the openness of the chest. So this is a really tight region for most of us. I always say if you've ever gone for a massage and the massage therapist starts digging into the front of the shoulders or into the pectoral muscles, it's pretty tender, right? So wake up that part of us, stretch that part. Keep the bound hands back behind you. Now keep your hands just like they are, but bend your knees again. We're going into that forward fold. Lead with the heart. Soften through your knees. Some of you will keep your hands, your arms along the length of the spine.
Some of you will lift your hands up towards the sky. Both are fine. But keep broadening through the chest on the front line of the body, and keep dangling the head off the end of the spine. 2 more breaths here. Good. Release your hands from behind your back, and we'll meet in a halfway lift. Pull the heart forward. And then as you exhale, touch the floor and take a deep step back with your right foot. And then stay on your back right toes. We're going to come into this straight leg lunge pose. So on your inhale breath, lift the chest, look forward. And on the exhale breath, ground your hands, step back to a downward facing dog pose. Couple breaths here. Just reorient yourself to the breath if it's fallen away. On your next inhale breath, rock forward into the top of a plank pose, and then just make your way down, whole body touches the floor. Make your way down to the floor. Release the tops of your feet and pull your hands back, lift your feet, just a locust pose to strengthen the back body and broaden through the chest again this morning. Good, and then both hands down, tuck the toes. We're going back to a downward facing dog. On your next inhale breath, lift your right leg. And on the exhale breath, straight leg lunge. Step forward, stay high on the back toes, lift your chest on the inhale. And on the exhale, back foot steps forward to join the front foot, standing forward fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen, halfway lift pose. Exhale, forward fold. Ride the wave of the inhale breath all the way up, reach up. Look up if you can, if it's okay with your neck. And then hands come back to the center of the chest. Inhale, reach up. Take the arms wide, broaden the chest, forward fold. Halfway lift, lengthen your spine. And then take a deep step back with your left foot. Lunge pose here. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right foot joins the left foot. Inhale, glide forward, top of the plank pose. Make your way to the floor. Heart, chest, chin touches the floor. This time, cobra pose. So release the tops of the feet. Ground into both the hands and the feet. Lift the chest. And exhale, lower the chest, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg. Exhale, send it forward to your hands. Straight leg lunge, last time. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, back foot joins the front foot, forward fold. Halfway lift, come up, stretch the heart, shine it forward. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, root to rise, come all the way up. And hands come all the way down to the chest. Okay, just gonna do a little bit of work in the shoulders and broadening through the front of the chest and release some tension in the head, neck, and spine here. So on your inhale breath, carry your arms up, weave your fingers together, and then press your inner hands towards the sky. Keep charging your arms, even charge your feet. So stamp down heavily into both of your feet. Stretch up. Get long through the waist, elongate through the spine. I sometimes find the simplest poses where there's the least amount of technical aspect to the pose, there's the most satisfaction. This is one of them, upward facing hands pose. Good, on the exhale, release your hands down. And then go ahead and sneak your right hand behind your back. So the back of the hand is touching the back of your waist. And then take your left hand and use your fingertips of your right hand to make a little hook with your hands into the heel of your hand. And then stand tall, root down through your feet again. And as much as you're able to do, this left elbow that's going to be a bit like a chicken wing. So if you can draw it in towards the midline, in towards the spine, without flaring the ribs forward, without going into a back bend. And then start to draw your right ear, or your left ear to your left shoulder. You can use the tension in your hands here. Drop your right shoulder a little more. Keep broadening through the chest. Go ahead and release. On your inhale breath, carry your arms back up towards the sky. And this time you're going to cross at the arm bones. Doesn't matter which side, we'll do the other side in a minute. Don't look at me, don't flare your ribs forward. Draw your navel towards your spine, tuck your chin a little. Soft gaze. Inhale, both arms up. And then just switch the cross of your arms. Keep that lowest rib hugging down and under. You can even lift the pelvic floor a little bit here. Lift the thigh bones. Lift the kneecaps up into the thighs. Good. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Go ahead and sneak your left hand, same thing, back behind the waist here. Right away, let this left shoulder relax. We spend a lot of time with our shoulders creeped up around our ears, especially when we're on our devices so much. I think now more than ever, me anyways, heel of the hand into the left fingertips. Draw your right wing in towards the spine. And then start to lean your right ear towards your right shoulder. Stay heavy, like your left shoulder is weighted with something. Stay heavy there. Good. Go ahead, release. Sweep your arms all the way up. And then take a deep dive forward, all the air out. Halfway lift and lengthen your spine. And then just set your hands and feet back into a downward facing dog. We'll meet up there. Okay, from downward facing dog, lift your right leg towards the sky, and on the exhale breath, step it to your hands. And then pivot your back foot so that it's parallel to the back edge of the mat. And then we'll meet up in a warrior two. Warrior two. So just take a couple breaths here to find the pose. Press down into your feet and then rise through the upper body. And then go ahead and take your hands behind your back again. Clasp your hands behind your back. Find that same action of pulling down with the arm bones to broaden through the front of the chest, pectoral muscles, the fronts of the shoulders. Good. Keep that. Now pivot to turn towards your right knee. And we're going to go into humble warrior from warrior two legs. So take a full breath in. You can even lead into this pose with a bit of a back bend. And on the exhale breath, right shoulder starts to come closer and more near to the right knee. If it makes contact, use your shoulder to keep your knee, your hip open. Drop your head, lift your arms, look back to your back. And don't living in knock anxiety, guilt, fear. Bring some stability here. The inhale breath, rise back up, warrior two. And use warrior two as a stabilizer pose, as a pose to bring you back. In the same way that downward facing dog does that, we come back to the breath. Use warrior two as that same pose. A pose to reset. On your next inhale breath, straighten your front leg. Pour yourself forward. Open up the palms, right hand down, left hand to the sky, Trikonasana triangle pose. So you know those chairs that you sit in schools, in classrooms, that as an adult you can crack your back on really well? Because it's right in the middle of the spine, and when you push back, it just finds that really nice adjustment in the spine. Imagine you have a chair on the middle part of your back, and you're pressing into it, and you start to lean ever so slightly. It's just a subtle rotation here. 2 more breaths. Broaden through the chest. Good. And then turn both shoulders to the front 2 corners of your mat. Step back. Downward facing dog. If you want to take a little vinyasa here, top of the plank, up dog or cobra, back to a downward facing dog, go ahead. One more breath. Use your next inhale breath to pick up your left leg. Step it to your hands. Open your hip by making your back foot be parallel. And then come up, warrior two. Second side. Now turn your head straight forward so that you can find yourself right in the center of this pose. Sometimes that does a really good job of just pulling us slightly more into the center. From here, clasp your hands behind your back. Keep your head turned straight forward. Pull your arms down the back. Open and expand through the chest. Press through the feet. Rise through the torso. Keep all of that. Now turn to pivot towards your left knee. Pull the arms down, maybe going into a slight little back bend here. If you weren't wearing a mic pack, you could drop your head back. And then use the exhale breath to come forward like you're going underwater. Left shoulder might make contact with left knee. Arms lift, head drops. Keep the feet really rooted. Keep the legs strong, supporting the whole upper body here. Two more humble breaths. Good. Inhale, come on up. And then stabilize yourself here. Come back to yourself. Come back to the breath. And really that's what anxiety is when we've stopped paying attention to the sensations in the body like the breath. So it's a simple thing that we can do to calm ourselves, is to breathe. The simple things are the most satisfying. Begin to straighten your front leg. Pour yourself forward. Charge your arms. Keep your arms really active here. And then left hand down, right hand up. Find a comfortable gaze. I always find that so important in triangle pose. If you're cranking your neck to look up, chances are you're not breathing. So you might look straight ahead, or you might look straight down. So your bottom hand is going to be an important part of you being able to lean over that classroom chair and to find that little bit of expansion through this right shoulder, broadening through the chest. Two more breaths here. Good, and then spin to square your shoulders, front two corners of the mat. And then take what you need here, Vinyasa, stillness and downward facing dog. About 3 to 5 breaths. And then we're going to meet up on all fours. All right. From all fours, tabletop position, you're going to wing out your right shin. So you're on the right toes. Invert your toes. Take your arm bone, your right hand, and arm bone is on a little bit of an angle here. And then step onto your left foot, kind of like you have this warrior two leg, opening up the hip. If you want to come up onto fingertips for a little bit of height, you can. But see if you can expand and broaden through the chest here, left arm to the sky. So we've been here before, just in a different way. We were in triangle with this sensation of the upper body falling back. See what it feels like here. Okay, now let's add on. Let's pick up the left foot and let's create a bind here so we can start to find even more expansion through the chest, front of the leg. Anytime we find a bind in yoga, it's to create a container in which to stretch deeper from. So kick hard into your hand with your foot. Gaze to the sky if that's comfortable, if you can breathe like that. For 3, for 2, and 1. Release down. Downward facing dog to relax, to reset. Oops. Okay, we'll meet back up on all fours. And then same pose, second side. So wing out your left shin this time. Step on your right foot. Feels like a little bit of a warrior two in this right leg. Arm bone has a bit of an angle on it, like you're opening up a book. Carry your right arm up towards the sky, gaze high. And then keep the action in this left hand and start to open up the chest here. Open up your shoulder. Now pick up your left foot. Find a hook or a bind here. It start to expand. Feels a bit like dancer's pose. That's what we're coming up to. We're going to find that pose in a minute from the feet here. Keep stretching through the abdominal region. Good. And then right hand down, right foot down. Downward facing dog. Time for a vinyasa if you like. Otherwise, you can find child's pose or down dog. Walk your feet forward to your hands. Standing forward fold when you get to the top edge of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen your spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come all the way up, reach up. Exhale, hands to the center of the chest. Okay, dancer's pose. So we won't get too terribly attached to the results of this pose. If we fall, we fall. If we don't fall, we don't fall. It's all good. So I'm going to face you guys forward here. Inhale, carry the arms up. Exhale, right hand drops down like it's holding on to something, a special book. Hook your hand from the inside, so the big toe side of the foot, and then lengthen up, palm forward, and then hinge from the hips. So coming down any amount here. Keep the kick of the hand into the foot, stretching the front body, broadening through the chest. And the knees come back together, foot down, arms down. Take a moment here, eyes closed, Tadasana. Regulate the breath again. Okay, second side, arms up. Left hand comes down. Hook the inside of your left foot. Shoot your right arm like an arrow straight up towards the sky. And then foot goes back, heart comes forward, palm faces down. Keep your throat long here. Keep your chin away from the chest. And then find a focal point with your eyes that's a little higher than the body is, and then lower, and then you don't have to move the eyes. When we move the eyes, it often makes us fall. Good. Come back to center. Foot down, arms down. All right, let's take a vinyasa to get us back to a downward facing dog. Big breath in, reach up. All the air out, forward fold. Halfway lift and lengthen your spine. Hands down, feet back to the top of a plank pose. Lower down, chaturanga, or you can let the whole body fall to the floor. Inhale, find a back bend for the spine, broaden through the chest. And then roll through the toes, downward facing dog pose. All right. So from downward facing dog, we're going to roll to the outer edge of the right foot. Okay? So again, you're going to have a little bit of an angle on this right arm bone so that you're not jamming all the weight straight up over top of the wrist. And then root down through the outer edge of this right foot. Lift the hips. So I've got my left foot behind me. It's touching the floor here. And you can keep it there, and you can find a pose something like this, or you can open up the chest here. But if you want to, you can try to lift this right foot and hook it like we've been doing. Partridge pose. Stay for 3, for 2, and 1. Drop your foot back behind you. Drop your head, lift your chest. Good, and then come back through, downward facing dog. Take what you need here. And then we'll rock through to the top of a plank pose here. Roll to the outer edge of your left foot. And just to set up the pose, drop your right foot back behind you. Check that you have a nice angle on this arm bone here. And just take a nice stretch, open up like you're rolling the chest over a barrel. Now, if you wanted to take a modification in this pose, you would just do that same pose that we did just a little bit ago, okay? So something like this. Or option to have this left leg straight and then hook the foot. Like a dancer's pose, like a fallen dancer. Good. Drop your foot, lift the chest, hold the head if you like. And then come all the way through. Downward facing dog. Sweet child's pose here. Take the knees wide and the head and the heart to the floor. Take your hands together and then press the thumbs to the nape of the neck. Puppy pose. Good, we'll meet up in a downward facing dog. Take your time, no rush. Look forward, step, hop your feet to your hands. And then go ahead and have a sit on your back. Lay all the way down. Bend your knees, feet flat. Take your hands alongside your hips and then scoot your knees in towards your sitting bones. And then manually adjust two things here. Manually adjust the pelvis so that the tailbone is coming forward to the front line of the body. And then manually adjust your head. Pick up your skull and then lay it back down with the chin towards the chest. So we're headed into bridge pose here. Typically we close our eyes in bridge pose, but if your eyes were open, the drishti in this pose would be the center of the chest. If your eyes are closed, the drishti is to the center of the brow. Now keep that neutral pelvis on the inhale breath. Lift the hips up. And on the exhale breath, lower the hips down. We're going to do this a few more times to breath. Keep that position of the pelvis as you lift and lower. When you get to the top of the bridge, the inhale here, squeeze the glutes together just a little on that inhale, and then exhale, lower. Do a few more. When we're in repetition in the body, it's a nice place to find the synchronicity with the breath. Nice rhythmic breathing. Squeeze at the top. Let's do 3 more. Nice way to stretch the hip flexors that can get really tight, congested with sitting. 1 more for good measure. Good, and lower down, bring the soles of the feet together, both hands to the belly. Okay, let's do that 1 more time. Bend the knees again, feet are flat, scoot the sitting bones, or the heels in towards the sitting bones. And if you're able to this time, like we've been doing earlier in class, bind your hands together underneath the spine on the mat. Clasp your hands, and then use the hands and the arm bones to hike the hips up a little higher. Same position in the pelvis, same position in the head, neck, and spine. Bound bridge pose. And we're just going to hold this for a few cycles of breath. So keep that contraction in the back body. Remember that the legs are the workhorse of back bends. The legs are what help to open up the chest here. Expand through the shoulders. 2 more breaths. Keep pressing down into your feet. Keep lifting your hips. And exhale, release. Bottoms and the feet connect, hands to the belly. Good. All right, let's do one more like that. So your choice, you can either take your hands behind you and press up into Urdhva Dhanurasana, the wheel pose, or you can repeat the lifting and the lowering of the hips like we did first set, or you can return to bound bridge here. If you're in the bound bridge, you can scoot your feet in a little closer towards the sitting bones, hook onto the fronts of your ankles, and lift this way. So lots of options here: bridge pose, traditional bridge pose, a version of bound bridge pose, or wheel pose. All of these poses are expanding the chest, strengthening the back body. So if you can stay for 3 to 5 more breaths wherever you are. Keep the breath. Keep the focus on the heart or the center of the brow. Long, slow, deep breathing here. One more big breath in. And slowly lower down. This time, if you want to hug the knees in towards the chest, wrap the arms around the shins, rock a little side to side. Okay, we'll move from the back body to come forward onto the belly. Okay, once you're on the belly, you're going to take your right arm out towards the side and make sure that it's just a little bit higher than the position of the shoulder. So you don't want it way down here. Higher is better than lower. And then tent the fingers on your left hand. Push yourself over so that your left foot drops to the space behind you. Then you can relax your head down on the floor. Broken wing pose, opening the front of the shoulder here, expanding through the chest. If you want to, additionally, you can hold on to your shin, your ankle for more of a quad stretch. Good, and then roll back onto the belly through center. Take a few moments here. Let your forehead come to your hands. And then second side. Left wing goes out just a little higher than the shoulder. Drop your right foot back behind you. Relax your head. And option to hook your hand with your foot here, like we've been doing all class, opening up the front line of the body. And then roll back onto the belly, rest at center. Come on up onto all fours. And then simply take your right knee towards your right elbow. Use your left toes to jack back your left leg. And then broaden through the chest here, about 2 cycles of breath. Back of the neck is long, chest expands. So just like a pigeon that you would see roosted on the edge of a building, its chest is puffed out. And on the exhale breath, come on down. You can build something for your forehead to land on, stacked fists, bones of the arms. Pull your right hip up and back and try to press your left hip towards the floor. At the bottom of the exhale breath, roll to the outer edge of your right hip, and then swing your left leg all the way up and around. And if this is too much for the hips, too much for the knees or the ankles, you can have this right leg out in front of you. But as much as you're able to do here, if you're sitting on both of the sit bones, try to line up your knees here. Take your hands to tense on either side of you. Take a full breath in to broaden the chest. And on the exhale breath, start to round forward through the spine, coming forward any amount. Hips go back, heart goes forward, spine rounds. Taking deep breaths that fill the whole back body. Taking deep breaths that fill the back space of the heart. On the inhale breath, start to walk yourself back up to center. Untangle the legs, give them a little shake. And then we'll meet back on all fours, setting pigeon pose on the left side. Swing your left shin forward towards your wrist. Creep your right toes back as much as you can to stretch through the front of your right hip. And then pull your left hip up and back, right hip presses down towards the floor. A couple breaths here to come up. Press down into the feet, top of the right foot, outer edge of the left. And then use the exhale breath to come into sleeping pigeon. Keep the hips though, keep the hips in that same position. Right hip is pressing down. You might want to create a prayer dish for your hands where your forehead, the third eye falls into the hooks of the thumbs. Relax your shoulders, soften the breath. Next time you exhale, use the following inhale to rise. Come on up, nice and slow. Pause on the exhale. And then shift the weight onto your left hip. Drawing your left leg all the way up and around. No, right leg all the way up and around. Whatever side we didn't do last time. Remember, you can have the left leg shooting out this time if that feels better for you. Take the fingertips beside you to tent down to find a little bit of height in the spine first. Take a full breath in. And then all the air out as you round forward, walk the hands forward, drop your head, release tension from the neck, shoulders, upper back. Inhale breath to rise up. The exhale breath to stabilize here. Untangle the legs, give them a little shake, decompress the hips. And then go ahead and bend your knees, feet flat. Take your 2 peace fingers and hook them between first and second toe, wrapping up with the thumbs here. And then any amount, you'll waddle the sit bones back and start to straighten the legs. Let's begin with a straight spine, broad chest. And in a moment, we'll round through the spine. But just a little bit of time here to find a long spine. Like you're trying to pull the chest through the bones of the arms. Quite a bit of traction, action with your hands into these toes. You can straighten the legs more if the back body allows. Keep the spine long. Crown of the head pulling up. And now on your next exhale breath, allow yourself to fold forward, round through the spine. Drop your head. Soften the breath. Slowly on an inhale breath, start to uncoil the pose, rise up. And then when you get to the top, just have a full, heavy breath out through the mouth. And if you've made it this far in the class, good job, high five. Know that this is the part that your body will probably remember and need the most at this time. So we have about 5 minutes left. Let's dedicate this time to stillness, to Shavasana. So if you need to pause the video and go get something warm, if you feel like you're going to get cold, if you need something comfy, a pillow, a blanket, a bolster, anything like that. But let's do Shavasana together, okay? 5 minutes of time. I like to set up something behind my thigh bones just to make my low back feel a little softer. It's okay. And then go ahead and lay yourself down. And like any pose that you would set yourself into, Shavasana takes time to set. So the legs have a little bit of external rotation. That's why we bring the feet to the outer edges of the mat. Hike your shoulder blades up and off the mat and then draw them in towards the spine. And this will give this external rotation of the arm bones. And this really nice presentation of the hands. Relax your feet, relax your legs. Still the pelvis. Relax your shoulders. Soften through the belly region. Let your fingertips curl naturally back into the palms. Let your tongue fall heavily into the back of your mouth. Let your tongue be broad and wide. Let the skin of your face fall back towards the earth. And let your eyeballs fall into their sockets. Soften through the brain. Let the brain fall dense and heavy into the back of the skull. And rather than trying to regulate or manufacture your breathing, just let your body breathe itself. Just marvel at the ability of the body to do that. The simplicity of the inhale and the wonder of the exhale. So take these next few minutes here with me
And Kyle, who's doing this too on the other side of the camera, to just be still. I'll call you guys back in a few minutes. Take a few rounds of breath in and out through either your nose or your mouth. Just to bring you back into the room that you're in, wherever you are. And then let's together take a full breath in through the nose to fill up to the very top of the lungs. And then all the air through the open mouth, exhale. Begin to move your body in your own organic way. Bring it back to life after the corpse pose, the death pose. And then roll yourself to one side and we'll pop up to a sit. So thank you guys for joining me this morning, and if you watched right to the end, good job, way to go. Let's just take one more cycle of breath here, a full inhale breath through the nose. And an exhale breath, letting go of any tension, resistance, anxiety through the mouth. Go have your coffee, go see your family, go talk to somebody, go for a walk, enjoy your day. See you guys later. Namaste.